Wax's podcast. You can't tear it 'cause he's on tour. Wax's podcast. Maybe some Wednesday you'll hear it again. Wait, what? Come on, man. It's been 2 months, Wax. Let's go. Cheers to the pilot, but we really miss you talking mad shit about Trump, yoga, Netflix, and coffee creamer, and the places you've never been. Hawaii. Bike rides and shows with comedians. Tell us about your first time on DMT and the great day at the DMV. And as long as it rhymes, fuck you, Mike T. America. So much better than England. Hawaii.
Yes! Yes, that was the one and only. The man, the myth, the legend. The only man who made that. The legendary Ed from Chicago. He puts the Ed in legendary. I know that spelling is not exactly how it's spelled, but when you're as legendary as Ed from Chicago, you can challenge Webster. You can challenge the Webster's Dictionary official spelling of the word legendary to make it look like it's more like ledge, like as if you're falling off a ledge, Ledge. In dairy, I think he could make that challenge, like a football coach. And I think the challenge would win. I think Webster would say, you know what, I'm going to roll on over in my grave because I'm assuming Webster's dead, considering how long the Webster's Dictionary has been out. And give one up to Ed from Chicago, the one and only. Thank you so much for making that, Ed. And I appreciate the sentiment that was in that. While I feel a little bad about not doing the podcast, it's been 5 months, y'all. That was made when it was 2 months. It's been 5 months since I've done my podcast. And in a way, I'm glad that some people give a shit. I'm seeing a lot more comments like, where the hell is the podcast? And I'm glad that people such as Ed from the Windy City, Chicago, Illinois, people are missing the podcast. So finally, after 5 months, I'm bringing it back. I don't even know if I'm still able to podcast. I don't know that I still have the ability to ramble on for an hour. It's maybe been a minute, and I'm already like, what do I say next? What do I do? What do I do? How do you podcast is the question going on in my brain, even as I say that. But I'm going to try to travel onward. I'm going to try to go down the road. Not the road less traveled. This is the road that's been traveled by many podcasters in the past, podcasters of the present, and podcasters of the future. I'm going to try to just talk into a microphone and then put it out on the internet as if I was a radio show host. There's a lot of radio show hosts. I don't know how they still have their job. Like, if you listen, I've said this before on this podcast, but the morning radio show, it just sounds so dated when you listen to it. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. A pod for another cast, a cast for another pod. Anyway, the reason I haven't done the podcast in so long, I guess there's a variety of reasons. I mean, you know, I could say I've been busy, but I'm always busy. I've always got something going on. I was on tour for 2 months. I didn't do the podcast for about a month. Then I was on tour for 2 months. Now I've been back for close to 2 months, I guess. Probably 2 months exactly. And here I am finally doing a podcast. I've been busy this whole time, but I think the reason that I haven't done the podcast is because right after the last podcast that I put out, a good friend of mine, really a brother of mine, passed away. And I guess I've been not really wanting to talk about him or talk about his effects on my life and stuff like that. And I don't know. I just didn't. I couldn't do a podcast with. I'm talking about EOM, Daniel Carey, who was I lived with him. I worked with him for a long time, and he's a a producer, a beat maker. And yeah, on March 3rd, he passed away. He had an illness called scleroderma that affects different people in different ways. It attacks like the joints of your body. So if you know anybody with this, you know they appear stiff. You can't move your hands and elbows and stuff like that. Your knees. The way that some people, the way that normally functioning people can. And in certain bad cases, it affects your lungs. It builds up scar tissues on your lungs, which inevitably leads you to not be able to breathe, I guess. But he had this very rare disease, and he ended up passing away. And I just didn't really want to do a podcast knowing that I had to talk about that. And I guess what I'm doing right now is kind of talking about it. Yeah. So, recently I've been going through all the beats that I still have of his. He made a lot. I mean, his whole slogan was EOM makes mad beats, and that was not a lie. He really does, and he has a lot of unreleased music. So recently I've been going through that, and I'm going to put together. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do it yet, but I definitely want to put together like a tribute type of album where everybody that knew him and worked with him kind of has one of his beats and raps on it or sings on it or whatever they want to do. And then I want to probably put out a lot of his shit, just the instrumentals. So nobody can, this is how he made it, and this is what it is. And, if you want to freestyle to it at your house or something like that, go for it. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to put it out, because part of me says like, do like an album thing, and then do a bunch of small projects like Mad Beats Volume 1, Mad Beats Volume 2, and just put out like 10 beats, then 10 beats. Any proceeds from this will go to E's family. But part of me's thinking like maybe instead of doing the tribute album, maybe just kind of over time have people do songs, and then like each time there's a project, have like 3 songs and like 7 beats. And that way it'll be like, it could be cool for the public, because it'll be more like just like a flow. Like, I mean, with the amount of music that he has, this could be for a long time to come, just like a flow of music. So I'm trying to figure out what to do as far as that goes. And, I'm when I'm finding beats, I'm kind of like going through my emails and like just going through like emails that he sent me with beats attached to him, and I'm seeing what he wrote to me. And he's the kind of person that every once in a while, I think especially once he contracted this disease, he would like make sure to say some deep shit to you every once in a while. Like, make sure to say some really loving, like caring words. And it's just been really, really like, I don't know, it's been really sad. So, I didn't want to do a podcast. And I guess, I mean, I'm making, I'm making that sound like much more dramatic than it is. Like, oh my God, I didn't do a podcast. Like, who gives a shit? But, a podcast is just somebody talking. Well, my podcast is just me talking. So you got to address these elephants in the room. And, yeah, I guess I just didn't want to address it. I still don't. But you kind of got to. And, I'm going to miss E. Anybody that knows him is going to miss him. At least he has. There's a lot of music out there. If you're not familiar with E's work, I kind of consider it part of my work for the rest of my life will be to spread the gospel of EOM's music. So that I can kind of consider that part of my work now. And yeah, fuck. Damn. Yeah, I consider that part of my work now, so I'm going to try to spread the gospel of EOM. If you're not familiar with E stuff, or maybe you've only heard E stuff that he's done with me. If you're a podcast listener, you might be a fan of my stuff. He has a wide range of shit that doesn't have me. Go check out his Sun Rain album, check out For All We Know, and all his other various projects are all over the place. He's got a Bandcamp. He's got a Spotify. He's done projects with Intellect from Virginia. Did projects with Billy Mercury from Virginia. Done projects with Wax. He's on. He raps on some of the Lack of Afro albums. He has his instrumentals out all over the place. He did a bunch of projects. He did projects where he sampled Stevie Wonder stuff, Wonder Visions, and that's just the tip of the iceberg as far as stuff he has. And that's really not to mention all the fucking all the beats that myself and a lot of people that worked with him still have on their hard drives that we're trying to figure out how to put out and try to put it out in a way that he would want it to be put out, because he was not a very predictable guy. One of the great things about him was it's fucked up because the last couple months have been a really interesting time in music, as far as especially with hip hop music. Like E was the kind of person that would get really excited about new albums. Like he would get me excited for him. Like when Kanye did all this stuff with Nas and Pusha T recently, and the Jay-Z and Beyonce, Beyonce over there. But Jay-Z and Beyonce's album came out. Like, he would be excited for all this shit and listen to it a million times and call me up and talk about it. And he would get me excited about new music the way that I wouldn't normally be. And when all this stuff came out, when I'm listening to the new Nas album that Kanye produced, like, I mean, there's times where I pull out my phone to call him and try to get his take on stuff, because anybody that knows him knew that he's the kind of person that he wouldn't have the take that you'd expect. Like the main people I talk about music with are my brother, probably my roommate and really brother too, Davey, and then E. And those are the people I talk in the most detail with about music. And with my brother, he's my twin brother, so we usually have kind of the same opinion. Our opinions are usually pretty similar. There's obviously certain differences here and there, but with E, you never knew what the fuck he was gonna say, and his opinions were always very strong, whether it came to music or movies. I remember on tour one time, we saw that movie Gravity. This was when I was touring with Watsky. I think Koosh was with us, Koosh Modi. A bunch of us went and we saw that movie Gravity in the theater, the one where they were like, it was like Sandra Bullock in space or whatever. And I thought it was, I don't know, I thought it was cool. But his negative opinion towards that movie was so strong. Like, he was just like, it was trash. It was trash. I could barely sit through it. But I know that doesn't sound like hilarious, but I'm just trying to give you an insight into what kind of dude he was. If you listen to my podcast, he's been on my podcast several times. He's probably been on other people's podcasts. He's on many internet videos. He's on a lot of the Wax Weekly series from like 7 years ago now. But so I miss him, and keeping him in my thoughts. And it's it's hard to do these songs and listen to the beats, especially like some of the beats that I'm actually gonna write to, because he was very very honest with me too. We didn't always agree on things, but when it came to music that we did together, even stuff that I sent him that he wasn't involved with, like, he was very honest, and often I would change my shit based on what he said. So for me, I feel like almost like rapping on his stuff now has this extra added level of pressure, because it's got to be great. And like I will anybody else involved, I will probably throw that pressure on them if they send me something back that I don't think is good enough for EOM's beats. So it's interesting. It's tricky. It's gonna be a tricky road to navigate moving forward with this EOM posthumous release stuff. So I'm trying to not fucking get too crazy about it. I don't want to fucking. I know he wouldn't want me to like fucking overthink and overanalyze all this stuff. He would be like, because he used to always say like, he had a very hip hop mindset when it came to songs. He was like I'd ask him what he thought of a song. He'd be like, well, is the beat tight? Are the rhymes tight? yeah, then it's tight. He would always say shit like that. So he wouldn't want over analytical thoughts going into this project or projects or whatever it ends up being. I mean, I think it'd be cool just to at least release a lot of the stuff instrumentally, because really, like, let's say I released an instrumental. Let's say there was an instrumental on an instrumental project, and then like a year later, released like a song over one of those instrumentals. I mean, one of the joints I'm writing to now was actually an instrumental that he'd already released on his project. So I think people still like to hear that. You know what I mean? Even if it's the other way around, even if you release a song, then you release an instrumental, whatever it is. As long as you can vibe to it, you know. Speaking of that, thank you to everybody that bought the EOM Made Mad Beats t-shirts. We sold a shitload of those. Thank you to Vintage and Matt at Prince Inc. for doing the work, the actual work required, and that they made the design, they printed out the shirts, and they fulfilled the orders, which was a crazy, crazy process because there was a lot of shirts sold. And because of that, they're not actually available right now. Those shirts are no longer available right now. That said, I talked to those guys the other day, and I think what we're going to do going forward, I was just today before this, I was working on doing this, looking for like a merch fulfillment company so we can re-up those shirts. All the profit from those shirts will still be going to E's family. He had a lot of bills that he had to cover and stuff, and all the money from that will still be going to that. But we just want to get them. There's a lot of people that still hit me up looking for those shirts. I see why. They're awesome shirts, plus they're a good cause. So they're not up right now, but we're working on getting them back up. And that should be actually really soon. That should be really soon, because once I find a company that'll do the fulfillment, that means the company that will actually be like a warehouse that ships them to you. Because that's a lot, man. It's a lot. It's a full-time gig. Once we find that, which will be soon, we'll print out more shirts and we'll make them back available online. I actually plan on making I need to step. I was looking at some of my fucking web presence the other day, and you know, my website, all the photos are dated. The bios from when I released my album Continue in 2013 or what was it? I don't know what year it was. I think it was 2013. But the bio is about the release of that album, you know? Like, my point is, I need to re-up all my shit. If you go to the store page on my website, there ain't nothing on there you can actually buy. You can click on links that make it seem like you can buy them. But everything's sold out and shit, so not only am I going to get the EOM shirts back up, I'm going to get some of my own shirts back up. Speaking of my own shirts, thank you so much to everybody who came out on the tour that I just did. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was really fun, man. That was you know, sometimes they say God works in mysterious ways. Maybe this is one of them. Right after E died, I had a 2-month-long US tour booked, and you know, kind of we made the set. Me and Image, my DJ, shout out to Image. We made our set really you know, we made it a tribute set, you know. We wore the shirts. We played most of my stuff that I played was EOM beats. Image would open up with a DJ set with EOM beats. We did like Don't Need, Limousine, Red. We did Bad Company, Element Swing. We did a bunch of stuff. We did a couple things that weren't EOM beats, but we did the majority EOM beats and made the whole thing like kind of a tribute thing. It was actually very therapeutic, I thought, to be able to go out there and just get a lot of love from people, man. Like a lot of love and support from people across the country. I wish we could have done more, like some more stuff outside of the country too. Your boy is still not allowed in Canada, unfortunately. We definitely would have had shows in Canada on that tour if I was allowed to fucking go to Canada. I'd like to do something in Europe and Australia and wherever people are at that would actually come out to the shows, but for now we did a bunch of towns in America, and it was really fun, and it was really warming to the heart to see all the people that came out and showed love, man. It was awesome. I don't really know what else to say about that. But that's why I haven't done a podcast. That combined with general laziness. Let's not try to make it seem like this is the first time that I've gone for a while without doing a podcast, but it was definitely the longest I've gone. And kind of since I've been home the last 2 months, sometimes I feel like I'm overextending myself. Like right now, like all the different shit I'm working on, like I do comedy. I do a monthly show where I try to do new jokes and new funny little acoustic songs. I got an agent for voiceover acting. So I'm doing all these auditions to do voiceovers. Spending a lot of time on that. Haven't got one yet. Haven't got a fucking gig yet. But supposedly I'm doing a good job. Supposedly. Doing that. I'm working on the bitch ass acoustic album as I have been for a minute. Speaking of which, I'm going to put out a song from that. I got a song that just finished being mixed and mastered that I'm actually really excited about. I think it's one of my best songs I've ever done. And I'm going to put it out. I think that I'm shooting for August 10th. August 10th, I'm going to put out a new song. It's not going to have a video or nothing. I just feel like I should put it out while I'm excited about it. And it's kind of a summertime jam, so might as well put it out while it's still summer. Not rocket science in that regard. I think that I'm just going to put it out. My boy Galen, shout out to Galen Frazier, who's done all my fucking art since I was a child. I've known him since I was in elementary school. And ever since I've been doing music, he's at least played a part in all my album covers, flyers, t-shirt designs, everything. Website design. He's done everything, and he put together a really cool piece of single art, like a little cover art for this song. So I'm going to put out a new song. I really think it's one of my best songs I've ever done. It's called Better When You're High. And I'm going to put that out in a couple weeks. But that's another thing I'm working on my own music. I started working with a couple of friends on just songwriting in general. We just sold a song to China, this pop group in China. Made a little chunk of change there, which was definitely the chunk of change was definitely a part of the inspiration to make that a new project that takes up time in my life. I helped my roommate Davey with a lot of the projects that he's working on. There's a bunch of other shit that I do too, and this is all on top of like being a person, having a family, trying to talk to them sometimes. Shit around the house. Taking out the trash. Shit like that. Whatever I just said, I have a million other things that I'm working on at the same time. And if you have a brain like mine, if you have a to-do list with 100 things on it, you just don't do anything. So part of me is like, you know what? Take some shit off the plate. And I think maybe for the last two months, the podcast was a thing I took off the plate. So there's laziness involved as well, I guess. But I don't know if I'm going to do a podcast every week. Not sure if some people realize, because it's an hour and people think I just talk for an hour, but there's like, I'm sure some of y'all can relate to this. Like, let's talk about something that we all can relate with. Let's say you got what's a task that we all might have to do that takes a while? Like something around the house. You got to do some shit in the yard. Mow the lawn. For some people, like for example, doing laundry, I think is a good example for a lot of people listening. Like, it's really easy to do laundry. It's really easy. But you spend time thinking about how you have to do it, which is really the more difficult part of the process than actually doing it. You know, does that make any sense? What I'm trying to say is the knowledge that I know that I have to do the podcast and clear time to do the podcast. Now it takes a lot longer and more energy. Plus I got to check out all the emails for the podcast. This sounds like I'm complaining, and I am a little bit. I know it's better than digging ditches. I once worked at McDonald's. It's better than that. Easier than that. Easier than any restaurant work or construction work or landscaping work I've done in the past, all of which I have done in the past. It's easier than all that shit. But I don't know. Sometimes I think like, I've done a podcast for 5 or 6 years. I love doing the podcast. It's very therapeutic, and people enjoy listening to it. But like it's not like my main skill. Sometimes I think like maybe I should just fucking really be focused on doing. That's my brother calling me. Maybe I should just be really focused on doing music. That's my real like quote unquote gift. Like I started getting into music when I was a fucking tiny kid. I started writing songs and playing music when I was a child. I didn't start podcasting when I was a child. Never said I wanted to podcast. I never said I wanted to be a voiceover actor either, to be honest with you. But that's a lot of a lot of things that I get. People always hit me up and ask me like, "How do you get this? How do you get that? Got any advice for this?" Like I feel like a lot of the things that I get, I just like, for example, I'm doing this voiceover stuff. Like somebody reached out to me to do that. I got a song in a movie recently. If you haven't seen that, there's a movie on Netflix called Father of the Year. It's a Happy Madison movie, which is Adam Sandler's movie making production company. It's pretty dope. It's like right off the top, they play my song "Dreamin'," and I didn't knock on their door. I made that song like 7 years ago. And I got an email from somebody who found me through somebody or whatever that they like the song. Point being, most of my shit a lot of the shit that I do that is, it just comes to me rather than me going to it. So my advice to anybody who's asking me about anything like that is just do your art and be patient. If you're a writer, the most important thing you can write, do is write. I mean, I'm kind of all over the place today. I apologize. A little all over the place. What else do we want to talk about? Is there anything I could say about what I did that tour? I don't know exactly what else to say about it. People always ask you when you come up from tour, they're like, "Got any good stories?" I'm like, "Dude, we just did 50 shows all over the country and in a million places." I think from now on when I go on tour, whenever something interesting happens, I'm going to write it down. Just as like conversation fodder for later, like when somebody asks me if I have a tour story, so I actually have one. But I don't really have a story. Shout out to Feral the Earthworm. That's spelled Feral, the Earthworm. I think that Earthworm is spelled with a U instead of a O. I think. I know that that's spelled that way on at least one of his social media things. But check out his music. Shout out to Mac Lethal, who me and him were the co-headlining rappers on this tour. And it was us three, and then my homie IFTW, a.k.a. IFT Dub, a.k.a. Image, a.k.a. Image from the Wood, a.k.a. Christian, a.k.a. Chris. It was just the four of us on the tour. Just the four on the tour. Just the four on the tour. And we went all over the place, man. It's kind of interesting because none of us really knew each other before the tour, so it was very reality show-esque in that way. It wasn't like a group of buddies go on the road. It was like a group of strangers to live in a van for 2 months. But, for the most part, we got along really well. Of course, there was a couple times where there might have been disagreements and things like that, which is natural in any situation like that. But I think it went really, really smoothly. We didn't do anything too crazy. We weren't nearly as maniacal in terms of partying and whatnot as I've been on previous tours. Although we had our nights. But it was really fun. It was really smooth. I felt like the shows themselves, at least I felt like when I was on the stage performing, even and sometimes it was like a sold out show, sometimes it was hardly anybody there. But the whole time I had fun. And I think that has to do with this, the spirit of E that was present throughout the whole thing. But I had fun on stage every night. met a lot of people. Some people don't realize about touring. If you're at the level where I'm at, which is known enough to have a tour, but not known enough to be like. My point is, I'll do a meet and greet after every show. With the occasional exception of Maryland shows, because my family is there and I just need to talk to them and be there with them the one night that I'm there. So sometimes for Maryland shows, I won't do a meet and greet, but I do the meet and greet every night. And what some people don't realize is that's a lot of fucking germs, dude. You get sick every time you go on tour, you get sick at least once. And that's mostly due to lack of sleep, partially due to bad choices health-wise, whether that be food, booze, degenerate gambling, things like that. But I think that I put 2 and 2 together on this tour, and it really, I think, is the meet and greet that gives you the most germs. And there's a couple if you know any, me and Mac have done this a lot of times. I have friends such as Dumbfounded, the rapper, Watsky, the rapper, that have done this many times with the meet and greet. And there's certain stereotypical people that you meet. Don't get me wrong. You appreciate the fanhood of everybody, but at the end of a show, a lot of people are really fucked up. I think especially at my shows, I think because of the nature of my music, a lot of the people that attend my shows are big drinkers. So when they meet you afterwards, some people, it's like one stereotypical dude in terms of that is like the too much love drunk guy. Like he's in your face, like practically close enough to kiss you, and all you feel is spit. All you feel is fucking hot breath. It's like as if you're in front of the back of an air conditioner, except there was also somebody dropping fucking like hand soap in front of it. All you feel is just hot breath and fucking spit droplets aiming at you. And you're like, dude, I appreciate it so much. And you're like kind of, it's hard to tell a drunk person to stop. Because you get this, you get this, you get fucking, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate that. No, you understand, man. You understand. No, you understand, man. I'd be like, I do understand. And I appreciate it so much. But stop spitting on me. I know that might sound like I'm shitting on my fans. I'm not. I really do appreciate it, and I appreciate the love, but I'm just saying, there's always a guy spitting on you. Then there's the other guy, another guy, in these rock and roll clubs. It gets a little hot. It gets a little hot in these clubs. Some people are moving, some people are grooving. Sometimes it's packed in there, sometimes it's just hot in the venue. When I get off the stage, I have to change my shirt because it's covered in sweat. So I get off stage, take a quick trip backstage, get a new shirt, then I go out and meet people. But there's always this guy. I'm 6'0". And there's always the guy that's a little taller than me, 6'3". And he gets a picture taken with you. And he fucking reaches that arm. Picture somebody 4 inches taller than you. They put their arm around you. But they get close, and your fucking ear, especially your ear, but also your cheek and like one nostril and eye are just in this fucking the orbit. Like there's like a gravitational pull of hot armpit just next to it, just sucking it in almost. It almost feels like it's a magnet. A hot, sweaty armpit magnet. It's hard to even explain the heat. The moist heat of this armpit. And every time that happens, the motherfucker behind him who's taking the picture doesn't know how to use his phone. That's another very common thing, by the way. If you do a meet and greet every night, something that you see every night. If there's a line of people that want to say what's up, get something signed, maybe take a picture. Of course, like you know, if you meet, you'd be like, hey, let's get a picture. So you hand the phone to the stranger behind you. And I know I would be like this too. I've been an iPhone for years. If somebody handed me like a Samsung whatever, it'd be like handing me an iPhone of Chinese words, you know? And every night you see that, you see this person like, how the fuck do I use this phone? It's like just looks like a child picking up a fucking, I don't know, fucking, what's a really complicated thing that scientists use? I don't know, fucking, what are those things called? Not a magnifying glass, a microscope. Be less complicated than that. A microscope, at least you know to look in the thing. I don't know. You get what I'm saying. But yeah, I think it's actually a little weird that to get love like that. It's kind of wild, but it's what's cool. What's cool is you know, I've said this before on the podcast. Making music is can be a pretty lonely task. You're just kind of doing it yourself or with the few people you're making it with. So tour has a lot of value in it, and one of the biggest values, in my opinion, is to actually say what's up, shake the hands, and have conversations with the people out there that actually listen to the shit and enjoy it. You know, you get a little bit of that with the internet. You know, you get a little bit of that with comments and messages and stuff like that, which is always pleasant. But nothing like a face-to-face conversation. But if you do that every night, of course, some people are going to spit on you. Another interesting thing, you know what? This is I don't know how to explain this, but when I do the meet and greets every night, the most common thing that people say to me, by far the most common thing that gets said to me by people who meet me is, man, you're a lot taller than I thought. You're a lot taller than I thought. I don't know exactly why that is. I don't know if because I thought it was the opposite. I thought like people that when you see him on a screen, you know, like isn't like Tom Cruise really short, and when people see him on the screen, he just looks like a regular height. Maybe I guess I just have the opposite of that. People meet me and they're surprised by how tall I am. Like I said, I'm 6 foot even, but when people meet me, they're surprised about that, and I actually now that I'm really learning to appreciate life, it's taking me fucking. Sorry about that. Now that I've really learned to appreciate life, I don't know why it's taking me so long to learn how to appreciate life, but what I mean by that is like there's certain things that you don't appreciate that you've been given since fucking birth. Like, it's a fucking blessing that I'm 6 foot. It's a blessing that people, when they meet me at the show, they say, oh my God, you're taller than I thought. Because there's a lot of people out there that when they get met at the show, people will say, whoa, you're shorter than I thought. And it's always with a negative connotation. I've seen it happen to people. I mean, it's, you know, a negative conversation for height in terms of tallness is when you're fucking 6'8", and every 2 seconds of your entire adult life or child life, if it happened early, people are like, man, you're tall. You're like, yeah, I know. I fucking live in this body. I know. I get it. I'm tall. But to be just like a little bit taller than average and people say like, man, you're taller than I thought is a blessing that I've gotten just from birth for no fucking reason. Just luck of the draw. It's nice. I don't have it all. I'm not the best looking guy. But I'm fucking, you know, there's people out there that are 5'2", dudes, or girls too, I guess. I don't know. Girls that kind of have a different way of viewing height. Some of them want to be tall, some of them want to be short, whatever. But, you know, short girls definitely have more pride about being short than short guys do. A lot of short guys would love to be 6 foot tall, and I walk around 6 foot tall without even fucking appreciating it. So now I'm learning to appreciate shit like that. Lucky. So, I don't know. Is that supposed to have some kind of fucking... Am I supposed to say something deep after that? Am I supposed to say something deep? That'd be a tall order for me to say something deep. than I'd have to really rise to the occasion to say something like that. I'd rather have to stand up tall for what I believe in to say something like that. I don't want to sink too low, get too shallow, you know. What the fuck does that even mean? Is the question. What else happened on tour? Went to Florida. That's always interesting. Had a really good show in Tampa, Florida. Had not so good show in Pensacola, Florida. Pensacola, Florida was our least attended show. It was on a Monday night in Pensacola. There was it was like 10 people there, if that. And I still had fun on the stage. Still had fun. It's it's like every performer knows like there wasn't that many people there in a few of the places, but if the place is small, it's fine. What sucks is when there's an enormous fucking venue and it's empty. Then you just feel like you're doing sound check again. But I've done this so many times that I actually genuinely like doing it. I genuinely like performing. I like music. I like dancing around. Like a fucking jackass. Like a clown. Like a jester. Dancing around like a fucking moron. I like it. So, you know that old saying, like, dance like nobody's watching. I know how that feels. Sing like nobody's listening. Done that. I've done it in the literal sense and in the metaphorical sense in which it is intended. So no big whoop for your boy to do some shit like that. No big fucking whoop. You know what? Let me look at I had a thing I said I wanted to talk about I wanted to talk about the tour. I have a lot more I could say about the tour, but at this point it's been 2 months since the tour. And I guess before I move on to the shout outs and questions, I'll just say this. I'll say, like, you know, being on tour for an extended period of time, like, you know, 2 months is definitely an extended period of time to be just living this Groundhog Day existence where you kind of just, there's this time where you have to get to the venue, a time where you have to perform, and then the next day the same thing. I think especially because we didn't know each other, it's a really interesting, like, you just move into an alternate universe. And, like, for somebody who might, like, I don't know, I don't have a family or anything, so it's a little different for me. But I think for, like, almost like Mac and Image had families, so every day they would talk to their wives and talk to their kids. FaceTime is an amazing tool for touring musicians who have kids and wives. It really is. So that's a blessing that people have that. But for somebody like me who just kind of is single and whatever, like, living like that lifestyle, is like you really just forget about what the fuck else you were doing at home. You're just like, it really puts you in an alternate universe for a while. I don't really have much more to say about that. I haven't podcasted in a while, y'all. Got to go slow with me. I just haven't podcasted in a while. All right, so let's go to these. Where the fuck are my shout outs at? What the fuck? What happened here? Hold on, let me pause this for a second. All right, let's do some questions and shout outs. First, I want to say everyone that sent anything regarding condolences for E, anyone who bought the shirt, anyone who came to the shows, everyone who said nice things to me at the shows, especially nice things about EOM, and it's countless how many people said nice things about him and how his music affected them, and I just want to give them a shout out and say thank you on his behalf, and keep listening. I have a shitload of shout outs. All right, Mark from New Jersey, A-Def and J-Def, Chris M, Rain, Jackie Sweetleaf. Nice to meet you, Jackie. I met Jackie at the Chicago show. Mike from Long Branch, New Jersey, who I saw at the Stanhope, New Jersey show, who actually opened that show. Well done. Well done, Mike. Everyone who came out on the tour, Robbie, Tommy, Allison M., Ray F. in Canada, who wants to shout out Sean, Jeffrey, and R. Kelly. Weird. That R. Kelly thing the other day. I don't know if y'all saw that. R. Kelly's got a couple screws loose. If you know what I mean. Michael from the DMV. Francis from the UK. Jake B. in Salt Lake City. Casey B. from Laurel, Mississippi. Martin N. Trevor from Sacramento. Sacramento was a really good show. That was awesome. We did Sacramento on this tour. It was really fun. I got to go back up there. Matt from Stockbridge, Georgia. Tabitha in Alberta. Austin in Denver. There also could be Denver in Austin. But there's not in this case. This is Austin, who is in Denver. Not the city of Austin, who lives inside of Denver somehow. A person named Austin who lives in Denver. We also have Luke L. Hesketh. Troy from Texas. The one and only Danny from Sheffield. God, I haven't the podcast inside jokes and beefs between people such as Danny from Sheffield, Mike T, and Ed from Chicago. So far in the history books of my brain now that it really brings me pleasure and joy to even think about. So God bless you, Danny from Sheffield. God bless all the fucking blokes who live out there in Sheffield, you and your mates. And don't let anybody ever tell you that you're a piece of rubbish. Because you're not. You're great. You and your mates. I haven't been to fucking England or Europe in so long, I can't even remember their slang either. I need to get back over there. Okay, we got Matt, a.k.a. Revamp P. Lamar from North Carolina, who recommends Danielito, a stellar album by EOM. We got Cordless. Dylan from Ireland. Joe F. Royce Y. Jack B. Tommy from Jacksonville. Michael W. God, there's a lot of shout-outs today. I guess that's what happens when you're gone for so long. People stopped fucking emailing me after a while. Understandably so, folks. Understandably so. Peyton. A-Def. Joe P. The Thrillers himself. We got Shoebox Dave. Mike T, the multi-currency man. I can't believe you still have that job, Mike T. I think you don't have that job anymore. Who knows? It's been so long. How far has robot technology come in the last 5 months? I don't know. Ask Mike T. If he's still alive, he's probably been killed by a superior. Electrocuted by a robot shock. Anyway, Jake B. We got Art Wolf. Shout out to Art Wolf. Art Wolf, you sent me some of your music, and I didn't get a chance to listen to it yet. If you're listening to this, Art Wolf, resend that shit to beatsforwax@gmail.com so I can make sure it's like fresh in my inbox and I'll fucking listen to it. Rick James. Ghost in the Pines. Shiro from Vegas. Jacob R. from Stowe, Ohio. R. Ortiz in Portland. Emilio R. Reno Gino, a.k.a. Arch Deluxe, a.k.a. Greg Gillespie. Romy the Homie. Javi. Nick Shea. EJP. Nick H. from Chowchilla, CA. Aaron the violinist, who I met yet again on tour. I believe I met him in Dallas before, and in this time he was somewhere else. Where the fuck was that, Aaron? Fuck. Did 50 shows. I apologize. I don't know. Where was Aaron at? Damn. Or was that this time that I met you in Dallas? I don't know, man. We got Olek from Poland. Austin E. Trevor from Sacramento, who I swear I already said that. I swear I already said Trevor from Sacramento. We got Josh P. in New Mexico. Sonny P. from Essex. And Jake B. What the fuck does this say? I think I screwed up some. I think I might have copy and pasted some shit wrong, y'all. I really think that I copied and pasted some shit wrongly. I definitely did at least one thing, but I'll just read a couple letters. This is from Nick H. from Chowchilla, CA. And I think this was a while ago. Because he's recommending you should play Feels Good at the Santa Cruz show. This is his PS. You should play Feels Good at the Santa Cruz show. That has been my jam. That has been my fucking jam recently. Rest in Beats, EOM. Anyway, yo, Big Wax. I've been a fan of yours for a few years now. The first song I heard was Scumbag. Excuse me, I burped. That's right. You're goddamn right, I burped, okay? It's not the first time that I've burped. The first song I heard was Scumbag, and I was hooked. I started making my way through all of your albums, and you've become one of my favorite artists of all time. Thank you so much, man. The way you can make me feel such deep, dark emotion for songs like Music and Liquor Killing Me Inside in Old Ways kept me coming back for more. The calming yet motivating vibes I get from songs like Limousine and Don't Need have helped me remember that life is beautiful, a gift to really be cherished. Sorry, there's a lot of praise in this one. I'm not just reading for that, although I think I do need I think I do need validation sometimes. Anywho, and I can't help but mention the fits of laughter I have had when listening to your funny shit, like She Used to Be Mine, Crazy Ones, and the stuff you say in your podcast. It brightens my day. I got to meet you in Sacramento, California last month. I was the bearded dude in the derby hat and the fresh wax shirt I had just bought from Farrell at the merch stand. The show was fucking dope. That's weird. That was specifically the show I mentioned in the shout outs. I forgot that one of the letters was about that show too. That really was an awesome show. I'm coming to Santa Cruz too, and I hope to meet you again. Anyway, I've had this idea since meeting you for the podcast. I know that you've been hurting a lot since E passed and taking a break from the podcast, but I hope it does return. And when it does, I was thinking you should do a whole episode or even a series of episodes dedicated to EOM. You can talk about how you guys first got in touch, what the first beats were that you worked with, what it was like to tour with E, how you guys ended up living together and then living apart. See, I fucked up. I compiled these emails a couple weeks ago, and I was gonna use this paragraph that he sent to help me do this podcast today. I was gonna use these questions and answer them. Maybe my next podcast I will answer some of these questions, Nick H. Fuck. That's right. That's why I wrote that down here. I am not the smartest. I am not the brightest. In fact, I might be the dumbest of all the people that have arthritis. I don't have arthritis. How you guys ended up living together and then living apart. Maybe you could touch on some of his quirks and mannerisms in the studio and in general, and what is his process like as a producer, and perhaps most importantly, a little background on who EOM was, where he was from, and how he got into producing beats. I'm sure you can go on and on for days about him, and all I'm asking is that you tell us a story about the man that was EOM. The man that made so many beats that will continue to touch the hearts for decades for come. Decades for come. Hey, so yeah, I guess it's funny. I was wondering when I first started reading that, I was like, man, there's a lot of praise in this email. I usually don't read emails that are this praise heavy. At least I haven't in a while. I think I used to, but hold on. I'm right now, just so I don't forget, I am emailing myself all that shit. So the next podcast, I can maybe address some of that stuff that he was talking about. Have a section of my next podcast where I talk a little bit more about who E was and how he worked, just in case for people that don't know. Hit send on that. Then go back to where the fuck I was. That's right. Sorry, y'all. I was gonna use some of those questions and put that as part of the podcast today. Since I knew I was gonna talk about E. It was definitely fun to tour with E. That's for sure. He was a very fun guy to tour with. Fun guy to be around. An amazing freestyler. One of the best freestylers of all time that I've met. Just fucking hilarious. Like, he would just shut shit down. He would just shut it down. Like, you would rap forever. Like, you're on the bus and you're rapping forever and you're kind of killing it. And then he just comes through and says like 4 bars and just murks the whole thing. Anyway, We got a letter from Troy from Texas. I kind of purposely have some letters where it's talking about E. It says, "Hey man, I just saw your post about EOM. This must have been back in March. Fuck, that's not right. I remember meeting him in Dallas at the Prophet Bar with you when you guys were on tour with Hoodie Allen in May of 2012. Wow, that was a tour. That was me, E, and Frank. That was right. That was when E first. That was definitely E's first tour." And that was when he kind of was first learning to be a DJ that actually had a microphone and said stuff. And it was really beautiful to see the metamorphosis that E went through as a performer. Because, especially when I first met him, he was super shy and introverted. And then he kind of especially when he lived out here, especially when he lived in California, I feel like he kind of got out of his shell. And on stage as a performer, he crazily got out of his shell really fast. Really fast, he went from silent guy in the back to fucking Fat Man Scoop, super hype man. And it was really cool to see. Anyway, you guys, this is back to Troy from Texas's letter in Hoodie Allen, May of 2012. You guys took a picture with my mom, and EOM told me to make sure that I gave my mom a good Mother's Day for coming with me to the show. E was a beautiful person, man. He always seemed so cool and caring. I feel for you, his family, and you as you all mourn for him. He made this world a better place with his demeanor, and his music is shit I'll be bumping until the day I die. Music and Liquor is and has been my favorite song since I first heard it when I was 15 back in high school. I know it sounds like just one of those things you say when something like this happens, but man, I truly am sorry for your loss, dude. I know that he was a brother to you, just like Herbal Tea. If there's anything I can do to help, man, don't hesitate to let me know. And that was Troy from Texas. And I got a lot of emails and messages and stuff like this. I think on my Facebook, I haven't even looked at them all yet. I'm still fucked up about this shit. Especially I think that this is the first time I've really had a really close, my parents are still alive, my brother and sister still alive. I've never had a really close friend pass away before. I think I'm learning about how that works. It doesn't necessarily mean you're just fucking crushed every day, but I feel like there's part of you that puts stuff to the side. And then and it just like in waves, it just the grief just hits you. And it hit me today, man. It hit me this morning. I mean, it hit me a little bit, hit me doing this podcast, but that I don't know. There's a really weird way when it comes to music. When you listen to music, it can be really emotional, and it can be in a sad way. Or it can be in a really, really happy, all unbelievably spiritually happy way. And also it can kind of be both at the same time. And I had that this morning when I was kind of going through some beats and trying to figure out what to do. But I just wanted to read a couple of the letters that people sent me. That was one of them, Troy from Texas, and I'll do one more. This is Mike from Long Branch, New Jersey. Yo, Wax. I am so sorry about EOM, man. I'm sure this has been insanely hard for you. I went back yesterday and rewatched all the old Wax Weekly videos with him. And the chemistry you guys had as friends seemed so amazing, not to mention the chemistry you guys had musically, which speaks for itself. I never got the chance to meet him, unfortunately, but he seemed very genuine. I think one of the things that people worry about the most when they think about life is how they will be remembered. And most people will only ever be remembered through family or friends. Luckily, in such a short time, he left behind an amazingly large and quality catalog of music that ended up affecting so many people. It has helped me get through a lot in the last few years, as well as many others, I'm sure, and I will be proudly bumping his music as well as yours until the day I die. I hope you, as well as Herbs, find some sort of solace in knowing that, and I hope he did too. Much love to you and all of his friends and family. I'm sure he's already making mad beats for you for when you meet again. Be easy, man. Yeah, that's really nice of you to say, Mike. Granted, these letters are now probably fucking 4 months old, but I just haven't really talked about it on the podcast. Wanted to talk about it on the podcast. And, yeah. I think that, it is interesting thinking about the way that people are remembered. Because the sad truth is that the earth has been around for, I don't know the fucking actual number. Okay. I'm not gonna say 60 million or 7 billion years. I don't even trillion. I have no idea. But I actually just wrote a song about this. Like, no matter what, there's only so long you'll be remembered, Like, we remember, like, the oldest shit we remember now is, like, Jesus and a little further back. And, like, if in the long term of mankind, like, Jesus is new. Jesus is new. Recorded music is only, like, what, 120 years old or something like that? Recorded music. The music industry started in, like, the 20s and 30s. So the music industry is only 100 years old, if that. We call everybody legends. The sad truth is that all of us, no matter how famous we are, no matter how much music we made or how much art we did or how big of a presidential fucking fame we had, how many wars we started, we will all be forgotten eventually. Just like rocks that erode away over millions of years and become the Grand Canyon. You look at the Grand Canyon, that wide expanse. Think about that rock that once was, that pebble that was once right in the middle. That's all of us. It's true. In the long scheme of things, we'll all be forgotten. But for the people that are left behind, when somebody dies and that person's family and loved ones are around, and if they're an artist, the people that are fans of their art are around, it's very comforting and very awesome that stuff remains. And I think in EOM's case, what a really beautiful thing is that he has stuff that's yet to come. He has great music that he will not even see be released, that is yet to come. He did a lot of great shit with a short amount of time. He was only 29 when he died. He did a lot of great things and didn't even, really unfair. If you listen to this podcast, you know that I've been smoking cigarettes since I was a kid. I'm 10 years older than EOM. And, he never smoked a cigarette. And, of course, he's the one to get this fucking fatal lung disease. It's like that's how unfair life can be. And it's fucked up. But yeah, it's amazing that he's left behind so much great music. And I would argue that there's another side of that. There's almost a tragedy behind the fact that more people don't know about him. Because I'm highly biased, but I really believe that if you listen to a lot of his work, listen to a lot of his beats, I don't think there's any reason that Ninth Wonder is any better than EOM. Straight up. I mean, I don't know why I singled out Ninth Wonder, but there's greats out there that I don't think EOM is like. I think he could have been on. I think he was on the level of a lot of the people that we consider greats, and didn't really. He might not have the business skills. He might not have the know-how in the industry. He might not have the luck. A lot of this shit is luck, Maybe he chose. Maybe he chose the wrong rapper to work with. Maybe that was a problem. I've always thought that, especially a lot of the beats that you haven't heard yet. It's like I listened to his like some of the shit that he was making before. Like, in the last couple years, especially in the last couple months, and then, the last year, I hear the shit. I'm like, dude, I shouldn't, I don't want to rap on this. This should be Jay-Z on this. This should be Busta Rhymes on this. This should be Kendrick Lamar on this, That's how I felt about a lot of his most recent shit. So, I don't know. I think there's almost a side tragedy in that more people didn't know E's music, but you never know. First of all, you never know. It could catch on. Second of all, You know, a lot of those famous artists and shit, they died penniless and didn't become famous till after they died. And see, why does that matter? You know, why does that matter? You know, it's beautiful. If it's a beautiful thing if you can affect one person's life. You know, even if one person says something like, you know, I listened to your music and it changed me. It made me. I was depressed and now I'm happy. I was gonna kill myself and now I'm not going to. You know. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Just listen to it. Listen to his music. I don't know what to tell you. I'll have more on EOM for the rest of the existence of this podcast. I'm not sure exactly when the next podcast is going to be. Probably next week. Probably. Maybe the week after that. I'm not sure, but it's not going to be 5 months from now. Love y'all. Thank you so much for listening and supporting all the shit that I've done. All the shit that the EOM did. And, you know, be safe out there.